Kia ora tātou, welcome back to the Wargaming Den. This week I've got a bit of a change up really. Rule set that's been out for quite a while now, Battlegroup. I've looked at it in the past and hummed and hawed whether to get a copy of the rules, but didn't really have an opponent and didn't really want to learn yet another set of rules, so it's always been on the maybe one day kind of list. Anyway, I recently discovered there is one of those mythical things called a 20mm World War II gamer somewhere located in the deep south, and I've managed to track Richard down, and he was kind enough to offer to host a game of Battlegroup in 20mm using his terrain and figures, which are lovely. I got rid of my own 20mm collection back in 2002. My friend Ian and I went to NatCon in Christchurch at Easter to check out the Battlefront offerings in 15mm. Had a couple of local gamers wanting to get into World War II gaming. We took one look at the 15mm stuff and put our 20mm collections that were being collected since we were kids in the late 70s, early 80s immediately on TradeBee and swapped over to 15mm and gamed that for a long time. And as you can see, recently I've moved to 28mm because I like the scale and it's easier to paint the figures when you've got older eyes like I do these days. But anyway, quite keen for a game of Battlegroup in 20mm, and it definitely brought back memories. Some of the terrain that Richard's got is stuff that Ian and I collected many years ago, so it was really good. Thoroughly enjoyed the game. I'll do a bit of a debrief of the game afterwards, and it's just going to be a bit of an overview. It was a learning game. Richard provided both forces, fantastic explainer of the rules as we went through the day. So he made a couple of forces up and we just played a game, and I really enjoyed the day. So hope you enjoy this. We'll crack into it. So Richard made up a couple of forces. I think there are about 500 points in Battlegroup. Basically, each of us had a platoon of infantry with some supports and a troop of tanks as well. So Richard ran the Fallschrimjager, so he's got 3 squads there. Now they break up squads into fire teams really in Battlegroup. So he had a maneuver squad and a machine gun squad with his squads. He had a forward, HQ, sniper, panzertruck team, forward observer, typical kind of stuff. Off-board artillery, which I always like. It's got 3 Stugs in support, Armada, and he had a Pack 40 towed by an RSO, and he's got it in the towed and the deployed versions. Oh, and back here, it looks like we've also got a 105 artillery gun, 20mm AA on a truck, and a supply truck to supply his artillery. There's all kinds of quirky little rules in Battlegroup, and supplying your artillery and stuff like that is definitely part of the game. We didn't bother with the tracking your ammunition rules. We probably will do in future. I think Richard probably uses those rules, but it was just a learning game, so we didn't make it too complicated. Next up, we have the American force that I use. So again, a rifle platoon, again broken up into maneuver or fire teams. So there's rifle squads and then bar squads with them, medium machine gun, mortar, bazooka. So very similar, almost carbon copy teams, which was nice. Of the 2 forces, I've got a sniper command, forward observer, troop of Shermans. One of them's a 76mm, an M10 in support, and a supply truck, and a beautiful Thunderbolt model. Nothing like seeing 1/72 scale models flying over tabletops. Very cool. A couple of these are die-cast trucks, are very nice models actually. And I think my US forces, the platoon command, the forward observer, and also the commander of the Sherman could all bring in my artillery support and stuff. I had a 105 battery and a couple of time on targets off table, and also had an airstrike to come on. So as I said, very similar forces. just to get a feel for the game, but a good variety of stuff. Here we have the game from the German perspective. Lovely looking table. But like myself, big fan of the welcome mats. They make fantastic terrain. Lots of model railway type scenery he's built over the years. The old HO scale, that's one of the advantages of 20mm. Lots of buildings available at model railway shops. So bridge down here and river. Basically what's happened is the Americans have, must be late July 1944, Americans have crossed this river and are looking to exploit their gains, and the Germans are looking to counterattack and recapture the river. So we had 3 objectives. I think there was one down, the bridge was one for the Germans. I had another objective just tucked down here, and there was a 3rd objective down here beside this factory as well. So yeah, that's from the German end of the line. And here we have it from the American perspective. So I started, we rolled a dice to see how many elements start on the table. I started off with 4, so I had a squad of infantry, medium machine gun, and an observer and a sniper. So basically I just got some advanced units over the bridge. We were trying to hold it. Follow-up forces were going to move on to the table. But yeah, and so I was holding an objective here, had the bridge, and I was looking to capture one down there during the game. Right, let's look at deployment. So I started with a squad of infantry against a hedge line here. Sniper and forward observer team were in this building here where they could observe, thought there was good visibility, and I put a medium machine gun down here to cover that lane of advance. Richard had a forward observer on the rooftop of this building. There was a sniper located in here somewhere. Had his 105 artillery, and he may have had a squad of infantry or something lurking elsewhere as well. But that's basically where we were at the start of the game. Right, this is turn 2. I was pushing this infantry forward, trying to get towards this woods. There were German infantry and machine gun teams advancing through these buildings here, so I wanted to try and get forward to give my follow-up troops a bit more breathing space. Richard's sniper up here, 3 rounds in a row he fired and missed my teams. Interesting fire mechanics. You can fire once and move, you can fire twice and not move. And the thing that took a wee bit of getting used to is you actually, each shot you have to roll to observe and then take your shot. So it seemed a bit weird at first, but I kind of get the rationales behind it, and it works fine. Kind of represents that after that first shot, I guess, that your troops are going down and hiding and spreading out, things like that. So quite a dynamic game as the game went on. I got really lucky about turn 2. One of my artillery strikes ended up destroying Richard's observer. I like the artillery rules, actually. It's a bit of a process. You got to roll to see if you can connect to the battery, and then a few other rolls, and then you see where the shot lands, and then see how close to the aiming point it is, and you use a scatter dice and either 2d6 or 4d6 distance from there to see where the actual fall of the shot is, and then troops within 10 inches may be hit. So kind of a wee bit complicated, but fast. It's not a slow process, and kind of cool, because unlike the precision laser guided artillery of Flames of War, for instance, you're never 100% sure where your artillery strike's going to hit, and placing your point of aim is kind of a bit of a game within a game itself. So I actually quite enjoyed that aspect of the rules. Anyway, it's not a rules review though, so we will move on. and a bit of an aerial view. So here's my infantry advancing. There's some Germans I think have got towards this building here by now. There's the artillery at the back. That sniper kept firing away, and there are some teams advancing through the woods over here. So the battlefield's still quite empty. We're rolling a d6 each turn to see how many of our reserves can come on. The command mechanic, so you've got all these little maneuver and fire groups, and you roll 2d6 and add the number of commanders to your dice roll. So I was getting 2d6 plus 3, had a couple of low rolls at one point. I think I got a 6 units. So you can't move everything in your list at any one time. So again, there's that tough decisions need to be made. You can put units on Overwatch and stuff like that as well. You can have troops do reactive moves. All kinds of shenanigans can happen, but shenanigans in a good way, shenanigans that make sense. And I think, actually on reflection, that this is where a unit of German infantry have just debussed from here. It's one aspect of the rules I did scratch my head at a wee bit. It's one of those games where you move your truck on, you can put the infantry within 4 inches around it, and then they get a move as well, meaning I think games like that actually make infantry able to move too far. It's never sat well with me, but it is what it is. You just got to be aware of that. Bolt action's got the same issue where you load up bloody bazookas and jeeps and then drive at the enemy and jump out and blast them. Those kind of silly shenanigans can sometimes result, but it does make for a dynamic and fluid battlefield, and I guess that's the rationale behind it. Okay, so the sniper up here on the rooftop still taking pot shots, but this is where things are getting a bit tricky. Infantry have advanced out of the buildings here. This is a MG34 or 42 team here in the woods, and then there is a rifle squad creeping up to the wheat fields over there. So my guys are caught in cover, not quite in the open, but even so they get badly mauled by the Germans in the next turn or so. So I'd planned my airstrike for turn 4. I had no idea at that stage where people were likely to be or how far we could move or anything, so I kind of made a bit of a guess. I decided to try and bomb this crossroads, hoping that a Stug or something might have been using this road to advance. As it turned out, no tanks had appeared at this stage, but my artillery strike hit about here and did some damage to some German teams, pinned them. I think I might have even knocked out a Kubelwagen back there and done some pins and stuff. So it was a reasonably effective strike. Very cool model though. Really like the look of that Thunderbolt. Okay, and so this is my turn 4. 2 trucks have turned up. Unit of infantry and the bar team have run into these buildings over here. The other infantry and the bar teams have advanced against the hedgerows. My thoughts were to start putting some fire on this machine gun team. I killed 2 out of the 3 crew members in my shooting, but as you can see, my first squad has been seriously depleted in its turn. Okay, so turn 5 or thereabouts, things are starting to heat up. I've got one of my Shermans has appeared here. I think I've got another one that's come onto the table down here. That's my platoon commander, and I've got an M10 is just off the out of sight over here. The Germans have had a Stug appear just up here. They've got another Stug just here, and the RSO has deployed a Pack 40 here. So we had a bit of a gun duel from this position over here, but unfortunately the maximum range of my Shermans is 50 inches and the Germans were a bit further than that. So about this point of time I realised that the Stugs had better anti-tank shots than me, though we kept missing each other because you've got to roll the spot and then you basically need a 6 to hit at this range and with cover. So I decided what I needed to do was actually to start pushing forward and trying to figure out how to get infantry to assault and stuff like that. So my next couple of turns I actually start to advance up here with the Shermans to support these infantry. As you can see, that first squad has now been destroyed. I think I took out the machine gun team, but there's a squad of infantry have reclaimed the woods, but I laid down as much fire upon them as I could, but decided I needed to actually move forward and advance to put some pressure on and to learn how to attack in this game. Always much more fun attacking than just sitting back blasting at each other. Well, that's why I think it's more fun anyway.
Right, we're on turn 5. Just going on to the Americans' turn. The Germans have advanced into this wood and their tank support is just coming on now. And if we move from here, I'd pinned some infantry back there last turn with an airstrike, but now the heavy hitters are coming on, so it'll be interesting to see what happens from here.
Okay, this is a turn or so later, so as you can see I'm pushing up this hedgerow here. My fire has killed the squad over here. I got lucky with an artillery strike and took out the Pack 40 crew. There's and I think I also may have got a Panzerschreck crew. There's another squad of infantry advancing here. Yeah, the observer was taken out, but the company commander was still spotting over here. Over here, the problem I had is I had 2 Shermans, and I was facing at one stage the Pack 40, Stug, Marder, another Stug here, and this Stug was also able to fire this way. So my Sherman, my command Sherman was over here. It's gone through the woods over this way. The M10's coming around here. So my plan was to use this building as cover, push round this way with those guys. Infantry are moving forward over here as well, and on this flank, trying to get out of line of sight of this one. This wood is blocking, and so this one's managed now to get out of line of sight of the Stugs over here. This one's still visible to some of them, but I was starting to move forward, trying to put a wee bit of pressure on, but my artillery and stuff was still chipping away. These dice here show that I've got my sniper who's in the building here actually on Overwatch, and same with this squad here, and these guys have taken a wee bit of fire and a couple of casualties as well. And this is where we ended, about turn 7. By now it was 4 o'clock. I had an hour and a half drive to get back home and needed to catch up with my wife before she went on to night shift, so we ended it at this point. So neither of us had managed to knock out a tank at all. I had, as you can see, had pushed forward along this hedgerow and got as far as they would, so that was the objective there. So I was starting to put a wee bit of pressure on, still hadn't figured out how to get my infantry to attack properly, and still felt I was a bit infantry light. Here my M10 had taken up position, had a shot at the Stug, but I don't even think it could see him in the end. To make my spotting check, the other Sherman was moving up in support, and I had infantry teams in here. So I advanced a wee bit. I definitely secured the bridge. My artillery strikes had been quite effective during the game, and at the end of the game I think Richard had taken 20 chits worth of damage and I had taken 10, so that counted as a victory to the Americans with the way the brake system works. So it was a good learning game. Thoroughly enjoyed the day. Was beautiful table, fantastic figures and terrain, and the rules played really well, and I'll give a bit of a talk about those shortly. So what do I think of the rules? I actually really like them. Had a great period feel. There was the odd quirky little thing, but all rules have quirky things, but it gave a good game. It had the right feel for the period. I like the command and control mechanisms where you can't move everything that you'd like to. I like the pinning mechanisms. I like the breakpoint chit system and the fact that that adds some dynamic stuff. At one stage, I pulled a chit that meant that one of my Shermans might have broken down. It didn't in the end, but things like that. And I also got a random airstrike at one point. So all kinds of little quirky things can happen and just add that element of uncertainty. I like the artillery. I like the fact that the artillery scatters a bit. Yeah, so those were the things I really enjoyed about it and definitely would give it another go. What I wasn't so fussed on, the artillery not being able to fire smoke. At one point I wanted to take a couple of shots and then drop some smoke in front of a stag. That was probably a bit of a flames of war tactic coming out of me, and smoke's not an option. It's like that, and that's fine. Apparently it's in that obscurement spotting mechanism, but personally I think that's a load of bollocks. Smoke should be on the table in World War II. It was definitely used at a tactical level in lots of circumstances, and not having smoke to me is a bit of a faux pas. Not a game breaker for me, but if I was solo gaming it, that's something I would definitely be looking at including. I can understand the reasons why it hasn't been included, but yeah, I just think that that's a major aspect of World War II that is missing in the rule set. Yeah, I might solo gaming, I might come up with my rules, but really I shouldn't have to. The books look really good, but I don't want to buy 10 different books or 10 different periods. I'll probably get the rule book and books that apply to areas I am interested in, but yeah, I'm not really interested at this stage to jump in and buy a whole lot of books, but I will probably pick up a couple of them. Probably a wee bit tank heavy, less so than Flames of War, obviously, but I felt I didn't have enough infantry. I like playing infantry kind of games with lots of infantry on them, and this was a good example to give us a good feel for the period, but as often happens, I was wishing I had a couple more squads to push forward at one stage. Need to figure out how to attack effectively and stuff like that, but definitely keen to run these rules out again, and try them again. Other thing, the figures look good, 10-20 mil, not a scale that I'm that keen to get again, but I might get a little British force so that I can play Richard. It's definitely something I'm considering, but and I'm sure you can do it, but yeah, I don't like it in bolt action, and this is a wee bit the same. Single figures, it's just faffing around with figures that are going to be taken off, so I'll probably look at basing in 1s, 2s and 3s or something, and putting all my weapons teams on team bases, I would think. But yeah, that's just a personal thing. The figures look great, lots of AB and other metals, well sculpted. 20mm looks a lot smaller than 28mm, and I'm sure 15mm, if I dragged out my 15mm collection to give it a go, would look even smaller again. So yeah, minor gripes, but really enjoyed the rules, really enjoyed the tabletop, fantastic terrain, fantastic models, great period feel. Definitely keen to give the rules another go. Richard was a fantastic host, explained the rules really well. There was none of those silly gotcha moments that sometimes happen in a game where there's quirky shit that doesn't feel right, or anything like that. And so yeah, overall I'd give it a very high rating, and definitely keen to give it another blast. I'm just not keen to reinvest in 20mm 20 years after I sold off my collection, but never say never, as Wargamers to do. So that's all for today. Thoroughly enjoyed the day. Richard, fantastic to meet him, and was an awesome host, put on a great game and a great day, and I will definitely be looking to get down to have a few more games against him in the not too distant future. So that's all from me for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. Put a like or subscribe, you know, the way it works in the world of YouTube. But yeah, until next time, ka kite anō. Take care.